is. So when you're framing corners, you can either use a concealed hanger like this, but they're kind of a pain to get them right exact. You got to kerf out the thickness of the hanger and whatever fastener you use. Or you can buy these really thick stair angles. So what I like to do on my perimeter is double up my exterior joist using 3-inch structural legs, and then cinch them up with this. Also, where it's exposed, I will run timber screws through the end of my beam into the joist, so it's kind of doubled up. It's really nice to do this, especially if you're hanging stairs. Stairs are going to come down this exterior, off this side. Band joist doubled up. I'm using a combination of a clamp, these spider drive, Fasten Master headlocks. These grip really well. They're similar to the Simpson, but these need trued up. So I just run a GRK in. That way you run it in on the side. Run it in on the side that needs to come up. So I can just take my hammer, lift it up, get them flush across the top, set my clamp. And then I'm running in, these are only 2 7/8. Okay, so I got everything notched, tight fit. I make sure my post is plumb, and then I set my base perfectly where it needs to be, and then I'll drill it out. Now the reason why I do things the way I do is so I can scribe where my beam will rest on my post for my post and beam connection. So that is just, you know, feeler gauge tight. That way I don't have to put shims in there. I'm not shimming things up. You know, I go through the steps to make sure that my very structural key locations are just rock solid sound. You know, you'll see some guys just throw those bases on, cut their post, you know, there's gaps, it's not bearing, and then over the years as things settle, you know, that's where you're going to get sags in your deck. And just a quick tip to add here, something I didn't know until last year doing a basement. If you were having a problem running your tap cons into your holes, particularly with like the 1/4 inch size, it is because your bit is wore out. So I used to buy bits and use them, way overuse them, and then I would have issues snapping them off, not driving them in the hole. And I could never figure it out until the thought just clicked after looking at a used bit and a new one that, oh, well duh, they'll wear out over time. So if you've used a bit for a long time and you can't get your anchors to seat, you're breaking them off, it seems like the hole's not big enough, buy a new bit. So every time I buy a big pack, I buy a couple bits, especially with the smaller sizes. either they don't last as long or I use them more frequently, which kind of sucks because on the bigger sizes, like that's a 1/2 inch, they're expensive. But I really like these Hillman anchors. I seen Simpson just came out with their own style. They look good. These are Hillman 1/2 inch. You use a 1/2 inch drill bit and 3/4 socket. So I leave my post base in place, that way it catches all that dust. You always drill it deeper so that way any excess dust will fall in the hole and won't impact your anchor. I was talking about right angle bits the other day, and I just want to show you guys how effective this is. I've had this thing for a couple of years, built multiple decks with it, ran leg screws in with it, still holds up well. The Milwaukee version is just magnetic, so that is the only downfall. I would recommend the Craig. The only thing is it's a little bigger because it's got a collet that locks your bit in. But you can put these little short bits in, and particularly where this comes in handy is doing picture frame blocking like so. Very handy. I've used it a lot on this deck. Also used it to fasten my V-bracing, which if I would not have had this on my V-bracing, I would have had to crawl on my back under the deck. And as you can see with all the rock, that would have been very uncomfortable. So I'll show you what I'm doing right now. I seen this on Dr. Dex, so I give him all the credit. I ran this through my table saw. This is just a standard deck board, and you get it to the point where there's just basically the material that's left is just the finished composite. Now what I'm going to do is heat it up, use CA glue and glue this up, and this is going to be my fascia corner. What that allows you to do is to die in your fascia that's a 1/2 inch thick into the side of this, because anybody that's built composite decks knows if you try to miter your fascia, scarf joint it, due to expansion and contraction, it always ends up breaking apart, even if you glue it. I don't know what else you could do, maybe try to biscuit it, but I've never had good luck with miters, so I've tried to get away from doing those details as best I can. So I'm going to use my heat gun, get these corners glued up, and then that way I can just have my 1/2 inch fascia die right into the side of this, and I think that is your best bet. So I'll get this done up and show you guys how we do it. So you can see this will be my fascia corner. What a guy could do, I have plugs, is you could run a screw through and then use a plug so you wouldn't see it. That's pretty strong. Since I'm going to be screwing through the face each side, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Demonstrate what I'm talking about is here's my corner. That allows me to set this in place, and then to demonstrate the thickness of the fascia, that's going to be a real nice clean finish. So thank you, Dr. Dex. If you're not following Dr. Dex, he is the master of composite decks for certain. So there you go. There's how you make up a fascia corner out of a standard deck board.